Hey guys, Ultimate Deadpool here, and if you can't tell by the title of this video as well as my shirt, I just got through rewatching the 2016's Ghostbusters. I have not seen that show since late 2016, early 2017. And I went into it again optimistically because I didn't remember anything that happened in it. It's crap. It really is. It's complete and utter garbage. So, spoiler alerts are ahead for those of you who have not seen this movie. Before we get into the actual movie, let me just say this. I can't remember her name in the movie, but essentially the Winston actress in this movie has gone on social media, and a lot of the female cast for the 2016's Ghostbusters has gone on social media saying that they are deliberately pissed at the studio company that is in charge of Ghostbusters by going back to the original after their movie, through their eyes, was a huge success, but in the box office was a huge ass failure. I don't blame the studio this time. I don't blame the studio. That movie, their movie was so bad that it should not have been a thing. It should have been a direct-to-video. Screw the movie theater. Go right into it. You know, here's the DVD. There you go. If you want to watch it, pick it up. You want to know why they didn't do that? Nobody would buy the movie. Not one person would buy the movie. The people who would be the people who had never seen the original. Now, here's another thing. I understand you can't make a remake without changing a few things. This remake changed everything, which is not necessarily a bad thing if you do it in a creative, tasteful way. This particular movie, they had nothing to do with that. They did nothing of the sort. They just basically said, here, let's throw together a movie, slap Ghostbusters on it just to call it a Ghostbusters movie. So, before we get any farther, I think it's safe to say I've been a Ghostbusters fan my entire life. I have loved Ghostbusters since I was a baby, essentially. I think the only thing I never really cared for Ghostbusters as a child was the terror dogs, only because they scared me. Oh, and the Grey Lady. But as an adult, that's one of the coolest things. That it was all done practical, and that's what I love. The CGI in this movie isn't bad, but it's not great. I don't mind CGI for special effects or even full-out movies if it's done correctly. Michael Bay's Transformers, Bumblebee, Ready Player One. That's just a few movies that do CGI really well, and it works. Maybe not necessarily to the viewers, but visually, it works, because it's totally believable. But then you have this movie that is... It felt like I was watching an early 2000s video game. Which is saying something, because I have tons of those games. And the games, they work. And this, it does not. By any sense of the word. So, let's start off with the story, shall we? I don't know. But yeah, let's start off with the casting. Yeah. Let's start off with the casting of this movie. This movie was terribly casted. I'm just going to use the original characters' names to depict these remake character names, because I don't remember any of their names, just because it was just that bad of a movie. So essentially, Janine Melvitz, or Chris Hemsworth's character, was horribly used. I legitimately hated Chris Hemsworth in this movie. Why did he sign up for it? Why would he sign up to be a basically muscle-bound moron that was literally there just to get possessed by the main villain and give very shitty lines? Why would Thor sign away his life to do that? Like, why would he do that? He could have made so much better movies or so many more better movies than taking his time on this shit. Like, he was seriously wasted in this movie. When I heard Chris Hemsworth was in this movie, I'm like, okay, you know, maybe there's something you can work with here. Maybe he'll be a good part of this movie. No, he was just the freaking Janine Melvitz of this universe, and he was just there to be a, bulk idiot, and it's just like, why? I get it. Chris Hemsworth is not in any, major films aside from obviously Marvel Studios and a couple of other franchises, but he doesn't play in terrible movies either. Like Vacation, yeah, that's a bad movie. The Men in Black movie that he was in, yeah, that was crap. This movie definitely was bullshit, but like, a lot of his movies aren't bad. This one was. And then Winston Zeddemor's actress, like I said earlier, has gone on multiple social medias basically criticizing fans and the studio for demanding that the original was brought back. And it's not hard to see why. I mean, she was literally my least favorite part of the movie by a long shot. I would rather watch the storyline from this movie rather than watch that particular actress acting in this movie. Nothing wrong with that actress, but there is one scene that absolutely broke my attention through it, and I absolutely hated it. There is one scene. They're in like a rock band concert, and she has the most racist and sexist line of the entire movie, which is saying something. And as soon as she said that stupid line, I absolutely hated that character. I didn't care for that character to begin with because she was just a pale ripoff of Winston, who was by far one of my favorite characters in Ghostbusters. But she didn't play that role right. It was just, she was literally there just to make racist and sexist jokes. The Egon Spangler of the group was an airhead bimbo who just happened to be really, really smart. Again, nothing on that actress. She plays in a lot of really good films. This one was not one of them. And the fact that she's like the big Einstein of the group, but also the most sexual character in the entire movie, is just like, why is that a thing? Why is she licking the guns? Why do they even have the pistols? It was just a proton pack in the original. I mean, yeah, they had the PKE meter and the goggles and stuff, and they had the slime blowers in the second movie, but they didn't use freaking pistols. It's like, I understand you can't do a remake without changing a few things, but they literally changed so much in this movie. It could have been a movie all by itself. It could have been a parody of Ghostbusters and not have it be called Ghostbusters. But no, because they had the rights to the title, they decided to slap on Ghostbusters and not have it be anything about the original. And then the Peter Venkman character of this film, she was by far the best casting choice out of the entire group, because while I would have rather seen a different actress play her, she wasn't bad. She was by far probably my favorite part of the movie, not in a dirty way, but she was a great actress who tried her best in this movie, and it worked. It totally did. For me, I thought she was the best part of the movie because she legitimately made me laugh in certain spots. And then you have Ray Stantz of the group. I think I've seen her in Gilmore Girls once upon a time ago. She played in that show. I think she came back for the 4-part miniseries that they did, but whatever. No, nothing against her. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I can't remember any of these actresses' names off the top of my head, but she was not made for Ghostbusters. I mean, her dialogue was just, it felt forced. And the overall storyline and the comedy, it felt forced. Because Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, was a sci-fi comedy movie, and that the comedy was, it wasn't, yeah, it was written into the script, but a lot of the actors came up with their own stuff. Like when Bill Murray says, "We came, we saw, we kicked its ass," that was all. They took several shots, and that's the one that they went with because Bill changed it every time. That worked. Or he slimed me. Yeah, that was in the original script, but Winston was supposed to say it. And they went through multiple takes. Bill said, "Hey, he slimed me," and that's the one they went with. Totally works. But in this movie, the comedy is definitely scripted, and it doesn't work. And again, nothing with the actresses. The actresses, they did their best. I will give them that. They did do their best. But the comedy was not there. They are not comedic actresses that I'm aware of. It didn't work. In the original, you had Bill Murray, a very comedic actor, Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Rick Moranis, Sigourney Weaver. They were all fairly comedic actors and actresses, except for Sigourney Weaver. She was more on Aliens, but still, they worked together because they were comedic, and they were all funny in their own way. My favorite part of Ghostbusters 2 is when when they're all in the train station or on the subway tunnel, and Winston gets hit by the ghost train. He's like, "Sorry, I missed it." That's my favorite part of that entire movie because of his delivery, his overall tone to that particular incident's happening. I love the way they did that. I love the way Ernie Hudson did that. In this movie, there were a couple of jokes that I laughed at, but I wasn't laughing with the movie. I was laughing at the movie because of how stupid the jokes were. Like when Winston's character essentially brings Ecto-1 as a hearse. For starters, the original Ecto-1 was a 1950s Cadillac ambulance. And apparently, in the original movie, they restored that car enough to where it could be driven and not fully functional. That's fine. This movie, basically, it takes the same body style of a, 1950s ambulance, but as a hearse. Which I get it is an inside joke because a hearse carries corpses, which is essentially what ghosts are. They're just out-of-body corpses. Which totally, aesthetically, yes, it makes sense, but at the same time, it is so stupid. It makes no sense. So, now that I've ranted on the characters, let's go into the actual storyline, shall we? So, movie starts off, I'm like, okay, bring it. And as soon as you meet the actual Ghostbuster characters, they are working, I kid you not, out of a Chinese restaurant, which for starters is racist, if you ask me. And then the overall characters that were in that restaurant were pretty racist, which didn't work for me. And then when they actually start their business, they have a nod to the original by having them go to the original firehouse, or at least a pale imitation of it. And they're like, yeah, this is too expensive for us. It's like, the whole point, the firehouse was its own character in the original. It played a huge part in in the original, both movies. The real Ghostbusters TV show. Hell, even the Extreme Ghostbusters took place in that firehouse. That's a character in itself. But then they reference it just a little tiny. And then, oh yeah, we're in a Chinese restaurant for the rest of the movie. It's like, why bring it up at all then? I get it's to have that, slight fan service, but like, why even mention it or even show it on camera if you're not going to have them use it? And so, yeah, they're working at a Chinese restaurant. They, like I said earlier, the Egon of the group, And I understand Egon had blonde hair in the real Ghostbusters. But no. No. It doesn't work well with this at all. And the weapons that they did, the ghost bomb, the ghost trap was okay, but it was too big. For me, it was too big. And all of the tools and stuff that they use, they're too phallic looking for me. Like the original proton pack, yeah, there was one on the actual proton wand itself, or neutrino wand, or whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was called. I think it was the neutrino wand. Yeah, the thing that pops out is fairly phallic looking, but at least it's a small portion of it. Not every single tool at their disposal is meant to look like something dirty. And Egon's character licking the pistols before she fires it just does not help at all. The whole possession thing, was taken from the original, and I understand, Ray did get possessed by Vigo in Ghostbusters 2, and Rick Moranis and Sigourney Weaver got possessed in the original as well, but it's like in this movie it felt tacked on, like it didn't have to happen, but it did. And the villain of this movie is so stupid because he is just a generic nerd, and he is basically this is no shit. This is his story. This is his whole thing. Well, I may be a talented artist, but I've been picked on my whole life. So instead of going and doing art like I really should, I want to freaking kill myself and become the king of the ghost world. That's literally his whole thing. His whole thing is, well, I guess the Ghostbusters busted me. Man, I gotta go to jail now. Psych, I'm gonna electrocute the shit out of myself so I can die and then go to the ghost world and essentially become this movie's Gozer. But they don't do that until like the very end of the movie. And he's like, oh yeah, well by the way, now that I'm out of your freaking secretary guy, done with possessing him, what do you guys want me to do? What do you guys want me to come as your destroyer? And they freaking picked the Ghostbusters logo, and he shows up, and essentially Stay Puft Marshmallow Man but size, wearing a bow tie. A bow tie. That's why. And what's the worst, the thing that really set me off was, I love Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. He was by far my favorite character as a kid because it looked so realistic. Because it was real. It was a guy in a costume with a miniature built New York that he was, sitting there walking on, and it looked so good because it was actually practical. This was a CGI monstrosity that didn't make any sense because he's like, well, I guess you guys did beat me. So what do you guys want me to do? What do you guys want me to transform into to destroy you? It's like, they literally, that's the only bit of story that they took from the original. Or they kept from the original. That was it. The rest of the story is completely different. So, Ghostbusters essentially they use Ecto-1's nuclear accelerator or whatever the hell that's on top of their roof rack. And they blow up a hole in the ground and it sucks all of the ghosts out of New York. Very grossly, I might add. And two of the Ghostbusters accidentally fall in the hole, and then they come back and they're their hair is all white. And it's okay, let's just hurry up and finish this movie. And then they set up for a sequel. And what's worse is they had Sigourney Weaver coming in as a main role for the sequel. Luckily, though, that sequel was canceled because if they honestly made it, I would have just lost all interest in anything that studio production ever did. But it's Why? You know, Bill Murray's cameo was essentially a pale ripoff of Walter Peck in the original, which is funny in a way, and honestly, when I saw that scene, it did get a legitimate laugh out of me, because it's ironic. In the original, Peter Venkman was making fun of Walter Peck because he was he was basically an asshole. And this, Ray's character and Peter's character are making fun of Bill Murray, who is Walter Peck's character in this movie, only to have him get thrown out a freaking window. Supposedly gets splattered into street pizza. It's like, you know, I understand Bill Murray has his issues with Ghostbusters, but why come back at all if you're just going to be there for a 5-minute cameo just to get thrown out a window? And Dan Aykroyd's cameo was super tasteless. Essentially, he was a taxi driver, and he was literally just spouting off quotes from the original. He's like, I ain't afraid no ghost. And like, oh, who you gonna call? It's like, you're Dan Aykroyd. You created Ghostbusters. You wrote Ghostbusters. And he was seriously wasted in that movie. Dan Aykroyd could have played such a bigger part in this remake than he did. He was a taxi driver in this movie. And all he does is spout out very shitty lines that echo the original. And then Janine Melvit's actress, I can't remember she was a secretary character. Not for Ghostbusters, but for like some government agency thing, or like police force or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was. But it's like, why? She has so much potential to be a more efficient cameo. And then you have Ernie Hudson's cameo as essentially the dad of Winston's character in this movie. And he like owns a morgue. Like, why? Again, Ernie Hudson, each of the original Ghostbusters cast could have had a much better role as a cameo than what they actually got. Have Bill Murray as mayor. Hell, have him be the mayor. That works. Have Dan Aykroyd be, a mentor. Or hell, even the restaurant owner to the Ghostbusters. That works. Ernie Hudson could be the Walter Peck character. Or better yet, keep him as is, but have him more in the movie. Sigourney Weaver's character, don't have her be a freaking scientist. Have her be, just either a random citizen on the street, or better yet, have Sigourney Weaver play Sigourney Weaver. It's not uncommon for movies to do that. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Last Action Hero. Freaking, Space Jam. Hell, Space Jam. All the actual celebrities that you see in that movie played themselves in that movie. And it works. Bill Murray played Bill Murray. Michael Jordan played Michael Jordan. It totally works. The only time they didn't do that was Wayne Knight. Wayne Knight did not play Wayne Knight in Space Jam. But, hell, have Sigourney Weaver play Sigourney Weaver, and then have her do the, oh, I ain't afraid of no ghost lines. Like, that would have been tasteless, but at least it wouldn't have been wasted. Like, Dan Aykroyd was wasted. He was the original creator of Ghostbusters. He's the one who did all of this. He's the one who created all of Ghostbusters. Yeah, Harold Ramis helped, but a lot of it started from Dan Aykroyd. And then, like I said, this movie was teasing for a sequel, and they do kind of mention Gozer in it. So essentially, the first movie was going to be its own thing, and then the second movie was going to be the true remake of what they were supposed to do in the first movie. So, I'm sorry. I don't think I've ever hated a movie. I don't think I've ever reviewed a movie I hate more than this one. I would rather watch Croods 2 than this shit. Hell, I'd rather watch the 2019's Lion King than watch this movie again. And part of it is because I've been a huge Ghostbusters fan my entire life. Lately I've started living, breathing, and eating Ghostbusters. Okay, maybe not all of those, but I'm turning my truck into a Ghostbusters-inspired vehicle. I found multiple collectible items that I am going to review on this channel, or if not on a different channel that is heavily Ghostbusters themed. Just because I have a display case right here. That display case at some point in the future is going to be filled with nothing but Ghostbusters. Because I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. I always have been. And when my dad introduced me to that Ghost Heads documentary, boom, that's what set me. I knew for a fact I was going to be a Ghostbusters collector. I still collect everything else, but my main thing I'm going to start collecting is Ghostbusters stuff. Just because I've loved Ghostbusters ever since I was a child. Literally, the day my dad introduced me to that movie was the day I fell in love with it. When I was a kid, the terror dogs and the gray lady scared me, but the rest of the movie, it was funny to me. It was good. I was too young for some of the jokes that are in it, but it worked. It's still such a good movie, and it's an endless, timeless movie. It never gets old, no matter how many times you watch it. Same thing goes for the second one. It doesn't matter how many times you watch Ghostbusters 2, it is still a timeless classic. Maybe not as much as the original, but, that's what happens when you make sequels. And this movie just basically takes the original movie, zips down their pants, and pisses on it. It's like, oh, well, you were expecting a good story? Well, too bad. And it's essentially what it does. Or it takes a ghost trap, throws it out, says, here, hold this, and it throws the original at it, and it traps it in the box. So much potential could have been done for this movie, and they didn't do it. Through all of my extensive research on this stupid movie, I found out that it wasn't originally supposed to be a remake. It was changed into a remake at the very last second. This movie was originally supposed to be a continuation. It was supposed to be a Ghostbusters 3. And the original storyline, from what I could find, was the original cast members coming back, and it was going to be their offspring that take up the business and the mantle of Ghostbusters. You have Harold Ramis and his child, Dan Aykroyd and his child, Ernie Hudson and his child, Bill Murray and his child, all taking over the business. That would have been a so much better story, and then you can take that beginning and go from there with your shitty story, and have better jokes, better villain. Have Gozer come back. Hell, have Gozer return. But no, it's a completely different storyline that just basically craps on the original. And I know I've said that multiple times in this video, and I'm sorry I sound repetitive, but you have to come through it with my eyes. I have been a Ghostbusters fan for years, and when I saw this movie for the first time, I didn't think anything of it. But then when I rewatched it, I'm like, oh my god, what were they thinking when they made this movie? You know what they were thinking? Money. That is why it was not released direct to video. I guarantee that is why it was not released to direct to video. Because whoever created this movie, I think it was Sony. They're like, well, we have this title. We have bad acting. We have this terrible story. We have bad jokes. Let's put it all together. Call it Ghostbusters. And let's put it in the theaters and trick everybody into thinking it's going to be a really good movie. And everyone goes to the theaters and it's like, oh crap. Well, we already have their money. Screw it. Let's go. It's like, why? It's just why? So, my overall thoughts on this movie is I would not recommend it to my worst enemy. I really wouldn't. I would not recommend this movie to my worst enemy. This movie is tasteless. This movie is racist, sexist, and crap all at the same time. The jokes are not funny, and the ones that are tasteless, and the overall dialogue is crap. The casting is crap. The storyline is complete garbage. Like this whole movie, it feels cheap. You know, yeah, the original one was done on a lower budget, but they made it work. They made it work with what they had. There are dozens of movies, thousands of movies that have extremely low budgets, but they make it work. A perfect example of this is the original Halloween movie. A $300,000 budget. That is extremely low for a movie. Or it's like 300,000 or 30,000. I can't remember how much or how low the budget was. But it was a low budget movie, and look where it came from then. 1978. That's over 40 years ago. Halloween broke all expectations on such a low budget, and it worked. Ghostbusters, yeah, it had a little bit of a higher budget than Halloween did. It had like I think $25 million budget, which is fairly low considering on what movies are cost nowadays, or the cost of movies nowadays. They made it work. They had a 10-month time period to do it, but they made it work. It was absolutely worth it. This movie feels so cheap. You know, you have, I guarantee they blew their budget on their actors. Like, oh, we can get Chris Hemsworth. Oh, we can get her. We can get her. We can get her. We can get her. Oh yeah, let's get the original guys while we're at it. We're gonna have Bill Murray. We're gonna have Dan Aykroyd. We're gonna have Sigourney Weaver. We're gonna have Ernie Hudson. We're gonna have freaking Janine Melvit's actor. I can't remember her name. But oh shit, well we can't get Rick Moranis because he doesn't want to come back to acting because he's too busy taking care of his kids because his wife passed away. Okay, great. Don't have Rick Moranis come back. I understand not wanting to come back after something like that happens. I was like, oh, well, we can't fake Ernie, shit. I'm so irritated, I can't think of anyone's name. We can't get Harold Ramis because, well, he passed away of illness. You know, that's not his fault, but they don't want to digitally do somebody like that. They did that with Robin Williams in the god-awful Third Night at the Museum movie. And it did not work because that was not Robin Williams. That was a digitally done character. And it was just horrible. This movie is that cheap. Like, they're like, oh, let's get these guys. Let's get the originals. Crap, we don't have anything left in the budget. Well, now we have to get the storyline. Okay, well, let's just slap something together, make it up as you go along. Great, alright. Oh, we have to also have the special effects because it's a freaking Ghostbusters movie. Okay? Get all the shitty effects over here. Get them over here now. Boom. Perfect movie through the director's eye, or through the director and producer's eyes. Pitch perfect movie. Way better than the original. Audiences watch. No. It's like, hell, I can make a better movie than that. It was like, why? Why does this thing? Why was this movie a thing? Or if it was, it could have been so much better. This movie legitimately had potential. But they dropped the ball on it and completely screwed it up. No joke, when I first heard about this movie, I'm like, okay, they are doing an all-female cast, which there's nothing wrong with doing an all-female cast if you do it the right way. Ghostbusters, they did not do it the right way, and it shows from that. It seriously hurts from that. This movie had so much potential, and they didn't do it. This movie just did not work because of its casting choices and the overall storyline that they went with it. It just did not work. It had so much potential that was wasted. But for those of you who enjoy this movie, that's great. Great, good for you for enjoying this movie. For me, it just didn't work. I grew up with the original. I grew up with the cartoons. I grew up with, all the original Ghostbuster, things. That for me, it was just a huge disgrace to the original. Like, I played the Ghostbusters video game so many times, it's not even funny. Hell, I predicted that Jetpack Joyride was going to do a Ghostbusters crossover with Jetpack Joyride. And I predicted that 6-7 years ago when they did the Back to the Future crossover. But like, this movie had potential. It had potential to be good, and they didn't do it. And that's what really pisses me off with this movie. It's like, you have all this potential that you can do. You could have had the original characters come back. Okay, great. Have them give the business off to their daughters. Okay, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. But then you have the storyline is just complete bullshit that you can't follow it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a dorky kid. I'm gonna kill myself so I can freaking take over the world. Ooh. Like, that is the most overly used storyline ever when it comes to villains' motivations. It's like, man, I was picked on as a kid, but I have all this talent. I'm not gonna use any of it because I'm gonna take over the world, god damn it. It's like, like, why? Why? So, my overall thoughts on this movie is, it is getting a 2 out of 10 on greatness. It's a good at 2 out of 10. And the only reason why it's not getting a 1, hold on, I need to sneeze. But yeah, the overall reason why I'm not giving this movie a 1 out of 10 is because, yeah, there were a couple of jokes that I thought were funny, but I wasn't laughing with the movie, I was laughing at the movie because of how bad their jokes were. So, with that, I do respect that they did try to do some of the comedy correctly, but it just didn't work. It felt forced. So, with that, yeah, this movie is getting a 2 out of 10, hands down. This movie was not good by any sense of the word. The storyline was bad. The casting was bad. The special effects and CGI were bad. The dialogue was bad. It literally sounded like a 5-year-old wrote it in certain parts of the movie. And just overall, the whole aspect of this movie was just terrible. So, would I recommend 2016's Ghostbusters? Not by any chance. Not any chance would I ever recommend this movie. This movie was cheap. This movie felt forced. And I guarantee they spent a lot of their movie budget on advertisement, actors, and that's it. The rest of their budget just kind of went to either drugs, crap, or just really, really, really bad acting. Because, like I said before, this movie had potential and it just did not deliver with the potential that it had. So, that's my review of 2016's Ghostbusters. Probably one of the worst remakes ever made, which is saying something. Because, and I'll do a whole video on this later, why remakes don't always work. Some do. Everyone doesn't like Johnny Depp's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I love that movie. I like that one better than the original because it's closer to the book. I never read the book, but I've heard it's closer to the book. But, oh, Johnny Depp did such a bad job as Willy Wonka. Well, he did his best. What did you expect? He did his best. So, with that in mind, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed me ranting all this video. If you liked the video, let me know. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on the 2016's Ghostbusters remake. That was extremely disappointing. If you guys enjoy it, I'm sorry. If you did enjoy it, I don't blame you. But tomorrow's video will still be kind of Ghostbuster related, so just kind of expect that. But I won't be wearing this shirt because I'm sweating like a pig underneath. As you can tell, my face is shiny because I'm standing underneath 4 very hot lights right now in a silk shirt. So, well, it's not silk, but it might as well be Hawaiian shirt. So, with that in mind, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will catch you guys all next time on Ultimate Deadpool. Peace out. You guys are awesome. I'll see you guys all later. Right now, I'm going to actually watch the real Ghostbusters, because that's actually good. So, till next time. And whatever else my outro usually has. Next time. Bye.